years in sales and management, but predominantly in management and executive management. We moved back to California into the San Francisco Bay Area in 2003. I'm married to a beautiful wife that after 11 years we're still on a honeymoon. And I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. In regards to me coming back to California, it wasn't the California that I left in the mid-70s. It had fallen so far from where it was that it's my commitment, after I have spent a career in the media, especially working with news talk stations in every market I've been in, dealing with issues of political concern, both on a local basis, a state basis, and a national basis, that I looked at the candidates for elected office this year, and not one of them represented the values that I espouse. And when we vote for people who do not represent the values that we espouse, then we are espousing to their values. And that's what we have done in this state and in this nation for 70 years. Well, at least, let's just say, since the time of Ronald Reagan. So for the last 40 years in this state. And it's time that we have deteriorated so far that if we don't do the right things today, if the people who stand for the right values don't step up and get into the political arena and fight for the common good of all people, then we will have lost our freedom and what we have in this great state forever. So that's a little bit about my background, a little bit why I'm running.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Regarding reapportionment, as you know, whether a person's a Democrat or Republican in the state assembly and the state senate, they have been gerrymandered so they're well protected. No one can run against them from the other party and win in either party. Would you be willing to propose legislation before the Republican primary in June, revise the reapportionment so that we can start getting people running against each other with some principles instead of a party name and no principles at all?
The reapportionment has been set to be done by June 30th. So you're suggesting that we push that needle up to have it done by May 30th, so it's...
Well, no, you couldn't change that. I'm just saying,
okay.
Would you come up with a better solution than the garbage that we've got? Because it doesn't make any difference. We can't get anything done in the legislature, both on the state level nor in Congress, because there's no difference between the two parties.
That's right.
They just like to argue with each other.
Okay, so you're talking about the reapportionment of the districts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, one of the things I thought was rather interesting is that, who was it, Karen Bass put some money behind trying to go up against that reapportionment and stave it off. It's right now it's set to be in a supposedly, quote unquote, unbiased committee or neutral committee to determine the reapportionment. She wants the reapportionment back in the hands of the state legislature, which it should never be. So I think what we have to look at is we have to give the reapportionment a chance, see what it looks like after June 30th from this so-called neutral committee. And if it is not so-called balanced, then I think we need to look at other alternatives, and I would push other alternatives.
Okay, regarding children, obviously the future of our country, and it's disgusting to think that we have such a poor education system concerning what we're spending for children, and yet we're not really spending much per child anymore because we have so many millions of illegals in our state. So, how do you feel about, I mean, I liked everything you said so far, and I was all really impressed with that, but how do you feel about, do you feel like we should actually send, as you were saying, I want to clarify this, send everyone back to their state of origin, the country of origin, or do you think we should allow some people to stay here who are here illegal?
I think that we need to have a zero tolerance policy on illegal immigration. That means that if they're not going to become, if they're not going to enter the if they're not going to get in the INS system, then they need to be deported immediately. One of the things that, and you're talking specifically about paying for these illegals in elementary and secondary schools, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll just tell you that one proposal that was presented to me in the last few days was that there would be a cost for the illegals in the schools. Are we going to get all the illegals out immediately? We're going to try and do the very best that we can. We know where they are, either through the people that come through our hospitals. We know where they're located. We need to, again, they either need to get into our INS system or they need to be deported immediately. Back years ago, California used to have the yellow card, the guest worker program.
Well, sure, it was great.
It worked real well.
Right.
We need to reinstate that program.
Well, yeah, I have 3 more questions, but
I think we should let
another
another
more questions here behind me, so I'll get back in line.
Thanks. Michael.
Michael's following up with the 912 Patriots. Will you push to make the legislature an open book accounting? I read a good book by Jack Stack, The Great Game of Business, and he had a business that he opened the books to anyone from the CEO down to the guy that twisted bolts on the engine, and it was a total open book accounting, totally transparent. Would you push for something like that for our state of California?
Absolutely, we should have an open book accounting to the citizens of the state. It's something that was also something I believe was talked about in some other independent political organizations that I've been associated with this year.
One thing as well, since our tax dollars go to a lot of different things, Nancy Pelosi's flowers, limo drivers for other senators, stuff like that. Since we pay our taxes for that, should we as citizens have a right to say how those funds are utilized and say, we don't want flowers for this, we don't want you to remodel your office once you get into office, just because you don't like the color of tan, have it go from mauve tan or something ridiculous so that we end up spending $1 million to remodel an office. Then all you need is a desk and a chair and a phone. When you look at welfare, people think, oh, they need steaks and they need all this luxury food when they can't even afford anything. They should be grateful for rice and beans and something to sustain them in life. When you look at legislatures, people getting into office and stuff with all these perks,